Hello and welcome to a new video. I don't know what I'm doing with this video, so bear with me. Basically, I really like One Piece and I recently caught up with it and I need to talk about it. So that's what we're doing, I guess. I wanted to do this tier list and I thought, may as well record it. Why not? Again, I have no clue what I'm doing with this video, so I guess we'll find out, right? So, without further ado, let's rate the One Piece arcs. Let's go ahead and do it. Warning, there may be minor spoilers. I'll try not to, like, reveal any of the big stuff, of course, but, like, I'm gonna be talking about each arc, and, you know, I kinda can't do that without at least giving some plot details away. So, if you're someone who's currently watching or whatever, you might wanna come back later once you've caught up. Cool. Again, though, I promise not to give away, like, any of the big stuff, though. So, anyway, this is going to be a very difficult list for me because I think all of them are good. Genuinely, I think at its worst, the canonical One Piece arcs, anyway, are watchable at worst. I think, you know, like, the worst sin One Piece has truly committed in its canonical content is just kind of pacing that feels a bit too slow. And that's it, really. We'll be judging these arcs based on their manga, and the manga versions, rather than any kind of anime adaptations or anything like that, just to make things simpler and easier. Because of that, that means, you know, arcs like Dressrosa, for example, will get much higher than they would have if we were judging just on the anime, and that kind of thing. Of course, if the anime helps raise it up, then we'll mention it. It won't really factor much in the ratings, but we'll mention it anyway. So, let's just kind of get into it. So I don't know if I want to do this in, like, chronological order, if I want to do it, like, just picking out ones that stand out to me, you know? Because that's the other thing, too, is it's really close, you know? Like, I mean, One Piece is, like, my favorite series ever, like, just, and that's not an exaggeration, it just is. Recently, over the past year, it just shot up immediately. And I'll tell you which arc it was that made it do that when we get to ranking that one. I probably won't be telling you why, because like I said, I don't want to give away big plot stuff, but if you've seen it, you'll probably know why. Yeah, I don't know if we want to just be picking stuff out, because it's gonna be, I feel like I'm gonna start placing some down, and then later on realizing I put them in the wrong place. So yeah, okay. It's interesting too, they split the East Blue arcs into their own arcs too. I usually refer to East Blue, or at least most of East Blue, as its own, like, one arc, but... Alright, Romance Dawn, I guess. Let's just start from this one then. Honestly, a C. And you may be thinking, really? Wow. Yeah, honestly, it's good. It's not great. I think Luffy's backstory, of course, is the biggest bonus from this arc. That's my favorite thing. I love that the series begins with Luffy's backstory. Only an idiot would just take Luffy's backstory and place it further down the story. And instead begin with the Kobe and Alvida arc. That would be stupid. But no, it's a really good tone setter for the series. It's a great way of beginning things. This one's only so far down solely because the stuff that comes later surpasses it in basically every metric. Everything this arc does gets done better later. Because we get the introduction of Luffy and his backstory, and a different arc delves deeper into his backstory and makes it better. The Kobe and Alvida stuff honestly isn't that interesting to me. Zoro's introduction is actually, like, I rewatched it recently, it's shockingly good. Like, wow, they do a great job of setting up themes and stuff with the introduction to Zoro. The thing is it's only like a handful of chapters. There's not all that much going on in it. It's got the burden of having to introduce stuff, that kind of thing. And because of that, whilst it's still a great beginning, the series doesn't quite, like, have you hooked in yet, right? So after Romance Dawn would be Orangetown, so let's see if we can find that. There we go, Orangetown. Honestly, Orangetown's also a C, for basically the exact same reasons. I'm gonna be honest, Buggy, I've never been the biggest fan of Buggy. Like, I like him fine, I don't hate him, but I see a lot of people out there go, like, Buggy's one of the most entertaining and funniest villains, and I honestly don't think so. I think there are way better villains out there. I do like that after all this time, he's still a relevant character. That's really cool. I like the stuff they do with his character later on. But as far as Orangetown goes, the stuff with Shushu is really good. The stuff with Nami is really good. But again, that's all stuff that kind of gets built upon later on. So, well, not Shushu so much, but the other stuff. And also, that's the thing too, is the East Blue fights, or at least the first handful of fights throughout this series, aren't anything too remarkable. Like, you probably don't really remember the fights in Romance Dawn or Orangetown, and, you know, this is a battle shonen, so that's another reason. It feels like I'm being very strict. Ooh, Baratie. I think I kind of have to put that one in C as well. You may be thinking, wow, this guy's really harsh. But again, for the same reasons, I think this one may be a little bit more solid than Romance Dawn and Orangetown, because... Oh, wait, we didn't do Syrup Village. Whoops. We'll get to that in a sec, I guess. I think Sanji's introduction, up until this point, he's probably had the best introduction of any of the Straw Hats. I think the Baratie is a really cool, like, environment, like it being a floating restaurant and everything. And I really like the stuff with Gin and, like, Sanji's philosophy of, like, always feeding people. But once again, just like all the other arcs, this is stuff that gets expanded upon and made way better later on. That's kind of the burden with beginning a series like this. I will say the silver lining is this does mean that One Piece is a series that starts pretty good, but gets better as it progresses, unlike basically every other battle shonen. Like, my favorite Bleach story arc is the first one. The only story arc I like from Naruto, the only one, and I've read all like 700 or so chapters of Naruto, the only story arc I liked in that entire series was the Chunin exam, and that was like the second arc or whatever. So yeah, I will say at least One Piece is paced and structured in such a way that it does improve over time. I will massively take that over a shonen that peaks at the beginning. Because Bleach and Naruto both indeed peak at the beginning. I love Bleach. I have a really soft spot for Bleach. The username Asterisk is a Bleach reference because that's the first Bleach opening. But man, it really peaks during the first arc and the Soul Society arc. After that point, it's all downhill from there, unfortunately. Syrup Village, I'm gonna put that one in D. Now, that's the thing, D is the lowest tier, but that doesn't mean bad, right? I still have a lot I really like about this arc. I really like Kaya as a character. I love the going to Merry to death. I think Usopp is a great character. I think this is the weakest of the East Blue arcs by far. And again, as I mentioned earlier, it doesn't really commit any real sin other than it's just a little bit too long. Shave a handful of manga chapters off of this thing, and it would be just as good as something like Orangetown. But the fact that it's like probably double the length or so of Orangetown makes it feel a bit meandery. I also do think Captain Kuro is, or Clahador or whatever he's called, I think he's kind of a weak villain. Which is funny because they hype him up. Like, Usopp says that he's like the smartest pirate in the world or something at some point. And I mean, that is Usopp, he's probably lying. But he is the most forgettable and unremarkable villain. Like, even in earlier arcs, like, you remember Alvida, you remember Buggy. You don't really remember Clahador. And if you do remember him, it's mainly because he has those cool, like, claw weapon things. Not for anything else, though. It just... And again, it's not a bad arc. It's still a great arc. There's no F tier on this list. I just think I have to be harsh here. Because if I'm not harsh here, everything would be an S tier. Alright. Speaking of, Arlong Park. Boom. A. Now, I'm tempted to put that one to an S. That one might go to an S later. I don't know. Arlong Park is the moment. I feel like myself and a lot of others have kind of very sort of famously dubbed this arc as like the make or break moment for the series. Because this arc is over within the first like 40 or so episodes. And it's incredible. It is better on its own than anything most other shonen series have to offer, and it happens near the beginning of One Piece, so all the people who say that One Piece starts slow can shut up. It's incredible. It really gives you a feeling for what it is that makes One Piece unique and stand out. The fights are starting to get better here too. Usopp's fight against Chu, I think his name is genuinely great. Like, actually seeing Usopp win his first legitimate fight is great. And the fight against Arlong is, I mean, yeah, it's great stuff. It's really good stuff, and don't even get me started on any of the stuff to do with Nami. It's just excellent stuff, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's about the same length as something like Syrup Village or Baratie, maybe like a hair longer, but it feels like a big, grand, sprawling epic, even though it isn't that much longer than the arcs that came before it. It's incredible. It really is just an almost perfect arc, and yet it's still not even in the S tier. I'm tempted, but we'll see. So after Arlong, if I'm remembering my One Piece correctly, is Roguetown or Lougetown even. There it is. Lougetown. Ooh, I kind of want to put Lougetown in C because it's really good. In fact, I'm kind of tempted to bump it up one just for the moment where Zoro is told that Kitetsu, I think is the name of the sword, is like really cursed, and he just throws it in the air and sticks his arm out, and then it misses his arm by like a hair, and he goes, well, it's not cursed enough for me then, and buys it anyway. I think that moment on its own might be worth bumping this up. I just think that in the long run it ends up being pretty insubstantial. Like, we get a lot of good character introductions. We get Dragon, we get Smoker, we get Kashiki, that kind of stuff. And you're lucky. Like, okay, I will say right now, if we were judging the anime version of Lougetown, it would be down in D because too much filler. For some reason, I don't know why, Toei thought this was the arc to pump all the filler in, and the filler isn't that great. I think Usopp's filler was okay. Well, like, I'm pretty sure someone like bullies him because of his dad, Yasop. And I remember that episode being okay, but the rest of the stuff, like Sanji's cooking contest and stuff, I don't really care, whatever. It's just a waste of time. It's very obviously filler. Yeah. But the manga version of Lougetown, it's a C. Again, it's very short, you know, like, is Gaimon on here? Because I probably wouldn't even bother reading Gaimon, because that one's only one chapter. I think they might have put it in with Syrup Village or Baratie. Yeah, so after that will be Reverse Mountain, if I'm correct. Let's see if I can find it. I have no eyes, apparently. Here it is. Reverse Mountain, God, if I feel very negative. I'm sorry I feel very negative, but Reverse Mountain's like another C or D. I love Laboon. Laboon is the best. I love Vivi. Vivi's the best. Those characters both get introduced here. I think Crocus is great. I think the introduction to the log pose is some really fantastic world building. I just think this one's a bit too slight, I guess. You know, like, it's a bit too just kind of whatever. It kind of begins and then it ends. You know, like, it doesn't really leave much of an impression on me, apart from what gets paid off later. But again, when we're rating the arc on its own, not based on what it's setting up for later. So yeah. Then after that would be Whiskey Peak. God, I feel like I'm putting everything in C tier, and I'm going to continue to, because where is Whiskey Peak? Whiskey Peak, again, Zoro is one of my favorite characters. Whiskey Peak, Zoro carries that arc. His fight, great. Unfortunately, there's not much really else about the arc other than that fight, really. That arc is characters hanging around the cool Zoro fight, and then it just kind of ends. So, because of that, I can't really put it in anything more than C. Don't worry, we haven't hit, like, the banger section yet. We're now only, like, 1 or 2 arcs away from hitting, like, just nothing but bangers in a row. That's where we're going to be filling SA and B a lot. So, we'll be out of the C tier stuff pretty soon, don't worry. But yeah, it's a good arc. We do get our introduction to Nico Robin, so that kind of makes it worth it. And then after that, I'm pretty sure it was Little Garden. Yes, it was Little Garden, because that was where Nami got her illness from, like, the mosquito or whatever that bit her. And then we go to Drum Island, then we go to Alabaster, right? See, I'm remembering this stuff. Yeah, I'm a real fan. I'm tempted to bump this one up to a B. I don't know. I think I'll put it in C for now, just to be a stubborn asshole that puts all the early One Piece stuff at C. Maybe One Piece does have a slow start after all. I don't know. I think this is the best, like, shonen arc early on, you know, like this is the closest that anything pre-Alabaster feels like a shonen series, you know, like we get our very standard shonen fight setups, but with the One Piece twist on them, you know, like because of that everything's nice and quirky and cool and interesting. So we got Sanji stuff with Mr. Prince, that stuff's great. We've got like Miss Golden Week's like painting ability, Mr. Freeze, like wax molding where he makes like a wax candle or a cake or something, and he puts Zoro in it, and Zoro's like, I'd rather cut off my own legs than be stuck in this cake. And I think that moment, again, you can probably tell why Zoro is one of my favorite characters. I love how straightforward and stubborn he is. Like, I'm trapped, am I? I'll just cut my own legs off to get out. Yep, that seems like a reasonable response to that. It's just a really great arc. Again, it's a very little one, but this is definitely my favorite of the C tier so far. And then I think we get to Drum Island. Drum Island's a B. Because of Chopper. I love Chopper. Chopper might be my favorite character in the series. He's really great. His backstory is up there as one of the best. I feel like Wapol's a bit of a kind of I can take him or leave him villain. I feel like that's the biggest thing leaving this arc down. I don't think the fights are all that memorable, but it does have a lot of good moments outside of the fights. You've got Luffy climbing the cliff, that stuff's great. Everything to do with Chopper is great. His backstory is one of my favorites. And his, like, joining the team and everything. Luffy protecting Dr. Hiryuki's flag. That stuff's all really great. Big fan of that stuff. Alabaster. Alabaster is one of the ones I'm least familiar with because I watched it a lot. I watched the anime version of it, and I think I also read the manga version too, a long time ago. So I haven't, like, with a lot of these arcs, I've gone back to, like, rewatch them or whatever recently. This one I haven't, but I remember it being A tier. And even if it wasn't, like, I can still remember very vividly some really great moments, like Luffy's multiple fights against Crocodile, and his solution to beating Crocodile was the funniest thing I'd ever seen, where he just gets the barrel of water attached to him or whatever. This is where Nico Robin starts to kind of shine, and she's also one of my favorite characters, so that deserves that. Vivi's a great character. The end moment with everyone putting their arm up in the air, that's an all-timer. That's such a incredible moment. It's really good stuff. I love it. Big fan. So A tier just for that stuff alone, honestly. I remember it being a really good arc. Then after that would probably be Jaya, right? So Jaya, I'm gonna put that in B, because this is like world building, the story arc. This is where we get introduced to so many things that end up becoming iconic in the series later. I'm pretty sure this is the first time we see Doflamingo. I'm pretty sure this is the first time we see Kuma. I think this is the first time we fully, like, start to learn about the Seven Warlords. Like, we run into Crocodile, and we mention that Crocodiles are warlords. I'm pretty sure Jaya starts to go into a bit more detail as to who the warlords are and what the deal with them is. I'm pretty sure. We just get some really great world building, and of course the introduction of Blackbeard, everyone's least favorite character. He's a really charismatic and fun to watch character, but he's also an absolute dickhead that I hate. And his whole speech is really good too. And also just Nami getting bullied relentlessly for believing in Sky Island. Again, that stuff's really, really great. And then after that would be Sky Island, so Skypeia. Yeah, Skypeia is another B. I think it's a little weaker than Alabaster, but I think Skypeia is the closest One Piece gets to pure, like, treasure hunt and adventure series, you know? Like, Skypeia as an arc is probably what most people think of when they're first introduced to One Piece. They think of, like, pirates going on this grand adventure, discovering stuff, hunting for treasure, beating God himself, that kind of stuff, and it encapsulates that stuff so incredibly well. It does that stuff so well. I'm a big fan of it. I just think in terms of the characters and that kind of stuff, there's not quite as much going on. There's not quite as many memorable moments. The memorable moments that are there are really great. Enel's punch. and his reaction to that punch is incredible. The ringing of the bell is really good. Nolan's backstory is really good. I just think it might have... I'm pretty sure it just has like a bit of a slow start is all it is. I mean, it doesn't actually, because it's... The thing that happens immediately as they land on Sky Island is pretty good too, but I'll keep it at a B for now, just because I want to be stubborn, because I know if I put that at A, then there's going to be a lot of stuff to get automatic S tiers. Long Ring Island, or I guess as it's called here, Longland. If you're wondering, G8 would have gone in C probably. It's a very fun and entertaining arc. I like it a lot. But that's a filler arc, so we're not counting it. Longland. Again, this one's one similar to Lougetown, where they're lucky that we're counting the manga version of it, because I think the anime version of it was atrocious. Because I think it's one of the worst pre-time skip arcs in terms of the pacing. They gave it so much padding. I don't know why that arc specifically, especially considering it's the one that comes immediately after a filler arc. You know, you would have thought that we only just came from a filler arc, so why not? So why would we have to slow down the pacing now? But whatever. I feel like this one's one that gets a bit of a bad rap because it comes immediately before Water 7. And people are just sitting through it going, come on, get to Water 7 already. I think it's important to note that I don't know if it's officially counted, but I'm counting it anyway. Because to me, an arc begins when they reach the island and ends when they leave the island, which is why they're all named after the various islands. And so we're categorizing it like that, and I'm pretty sure it is categorized like that. Aokiji's introduction still counts as part of Longland, so that automatically makes it not a D, because Aokiji's introduction is incredible. Does it redeem the entire arc? No, but I think the rest of the arc's fun enough. It's nice and comedic, it's fun, you know, you get to see the Straw Hats hanging out, it's great. So I'll put it as a C for now. Water 7, Water 7's an S. Just straight up, no questions asked. Usopp in this arc is incredible. Frankie has one of the most interesting and dynamic introductions of a Straw Hat, because you just don't know what's going to happen next in regards to him. As I went through One Piece, I obviously knew about the first 9 Straw Hat members, because they were all over the merch and promotional materials for One Piece, so I knew each character that was going to join. Frankie's joining still threw me off a lot, because when we were first introduced to him in Water 7, I was like, there's absolutely no fucking way this is the character that ends up joining the crew. And then he does anyway. I won't go into any more detail on Frankie other than that for now, because, whoa. And yeah, Usopp's arc here is great. The Going Merry, I cry every time. I think CP9 is a very, very interesting group of villains. I think Lucci might still be my favorite arc villain of the series. As a whole, he might be. I don't know. It's either him or Katakuri. Yeah, he's a really fantastic character. Obviously, he gets a bit more time to shine in Enies Lobby. And then the stuff that's happening with Nico Robin. I think what makes this arc so good is that it's not really a shonen series arc. It's more of a kind of mystery sort of thriller arc where we land on this island and everything immediately falls apart and we get like 15 twists per episode. It's incredible. It's really great stuff. I'm a big fan. Enies Lobby gets either an A or a B. I think it gets an A just for Robin's moment alone, actually. I think it's a little lower than Water 7, even though it's, you know, counted as the second half of Water 7 by most people. I just think, you know, like, Water 7 is the story-focused, character-focused setup. Enies Lobby is the action-packed payoff. And we get character moments like with Robin and the Going Merry. And the Going Merry is a character. And she is a member of the Straw Hats. She's not just a boat. Shut up. Yeah, those moments are incredible. I do feel like, you know, because the rest of the arc is mainly just fighting and stuff, they're good fights. They're very good fights, but that's the thing that stops it from being an S, you know. I like an arc that's the full package. Post Enies Lobby is what I like to call Jaya Part 2. And because of that, I will put it in the same bracket as Jaya. Basically just repeat the things I said about Jaya. It's really great stuff. I like learning more about the world and more about the characters. We get some pretty big plot bombs in post-enies lobby. It's pretty great stuff, big fan. Then we get Thriller Bark. Are the rest of these in order? They might be. Yes, then we get Thriller Bark, which I'm gonna put in D. Hear me out here. I think it's still a great arc. I still think, like, Gecko Moria versus Luffy fight onwards is like B tier. Everything before that point is, I'll take it or leave it. I will say I like Perona. Perona is one of my favorite villain generals in One Piece. And so her fight with Usopp is really good. And yeah, the Luffy versus Gecko Moria is pretty good. The Straw Hat Gang versus Oars is pretty good. Zoro versus Kuma is top tier. It's really great stuff. And Brook's backstory is one of the best in the entire series. So you know what? I will bump it up to C. I just think... Now, see, that's the thing. Anyone who hasn't seen One Piece, or at least hasn't made it up to Thriller Bark, who's hearing me say all that stuff and going, wow, you're really only putting it in C? Yes. Because that beginning stretch feels a bit too slow. Even in the manga. Like, in the manga, it's a bit too slow. In the anime, it's just a straight up waste of time. It's not great. Ooh, Shibondi Archipelago. That one gets either an A or an S. I think we're putting that one S, guys. That one is just... It's the archipelago. That's all I can say, really. If you haven't seen it, I don't want to say anything, because I went into this arc knowing absolutely nothing about it. You deserve that too. If you've seen it, you know why it's an S. I don't need to say anything. Amazon Lily. I actually like Amazon Lily. I'm pretty sure it must be. I haven't really interacted with the One Piece fan base much. I've gushed about it a lot on Twitter, but I don't really like interact with people, mainly because I only just caught up and I kind of didn't want to interact with the fan base and stuff online until I had caught up, because I didn't want to get spoiled or anything. I did get stuff spoiled anyway. Nothing too... Well, I got the obvious stuff spoiled, let's just say that. But yeah, Amazon Lily is one I imagine would probably be unpopular, just because it kind of comes between the archipelago and Impel Down, and people are probably just thinking, hey, can we get to the other stuff now? But I really like it. I think this one's like our proper official introduction to Haki. We mentioned it before this point. We very definitely mention it in Archipelago. Amazon Lily, I feel like, has to be, if I'm remembering correctly, the arc where we finally sit down and go, okay, this is what Haki is and this is what it does. If I remembering correctly, I might not be. And Boa's backstory is really great stuff, and I like that it just doesn't overstay its welcome. It's only like 10 or so chapters. It's really good stuff. I'm a big fan. Impel Down, I'm going to put it in B, and the only reason it's not any higher is because I think this one is it's a shade too long for its own good. Now, that could be me being impatient and just wanting to get to Marineford already. But I do feel like if this arc was just like a slight bit shorter, it would be a lot better. Because the stuff here is great. You got the focus on Buggy, which honestly, again, Buggy's not like my favorite character in the world, but I do like the stuff they do with him here. This is where Luffy really gets a shot to kind of stand out on his own. This is him without the Straw Hats, kind of impromptu making his own crew out of his worst enemies. It's really great stuff. And of course, Bon Clay is the MVP. Honestly, Magellan is one of my favorite arc villains. I think Magellan is a fantastic villain because he feels threatening. Now, a lot of the villains feel threatening for sure, but Magellan, he beats Luffy just straight up, and that doesn't happen very often. You know, like Crocodile beats Luffy and a couple other characters do at some point too. But Magellan, when Magellan beats Luffy, it feels like a loss, and I love that stuff. That was definitely my favorite part of Impel Down. Yeah, really good stuff. Marineford, ooh. I'm looking at the other arcs we also have, because I don't know how many I want to give the S tier to, but I kind of feel like I owe it to myself and the series to give it the S. It's Marineford. What do you say about Marineford that hasn't been said already? It's an incredible arc. Whitebeard is one of the most likable characters in the series. Ace is fantastic here. I love how it made the world feel big. It makes it feel like our protagonists aren't in the center of the world. It feels like the world isn't just revolving around whatever it is our protagonists are doing, and that's because most of our protagonists have nothing to do with this arc. Luffy's there, but the rest of them are blissfully unaware that this is even happening until they get like the newspaper when it finishes. And I think that on its own is a really interesting dynamic. And everything else is just payoffs to everything that came before this point. Everything up to this point gets paid off here in some way, shape, or form. And they do it in like, what, 30 chapters? It's incredible. I don't get it. How do you do that, Oda? That's magic. Post-war. Oh boy, post-war was the first time I cried at One Piece. I've cried at earlier arcs, but upon rewatches is the thing. The first time I actively cried was during the post-war arc. And oh boy, it was a rough one. This was the arc when I realized that One Piece was my favorite series, because we just got too many bangers in a row, basically. It's just great. And Luffy's backstory here is fantastic. Return to Saboady. I'm gonna put it in C, because, and I feel like it's an unfair C, because it's a really good arc, right? But it's only like a handful of chapters. And it's mainly just, hey look, time skip. And that's basically the entire arc. Like, our threat is basically a comedy relief villain. And there's not much outside of that. It basically is just, hey, do you want to see the Straw Hats reunite after the time skip? Cool. And that stuff's really great, don't get me wrong, but that's all it is, really. Yeah, don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed this, but I don't think it was like, you know, again, I like arcs that are the full package. I want heartwarming moments, I want a good flashback, and I want good action scenes and good world building. I want an arc that's an everything in one package. And funnily enough, I think even something like Amazon Lily did more of that stuff than something like Return to Saboady did. Fishman Island. I gotta say, Fishman Island is probably the most underrated arc, because I never see anyone talk about it. I think it's a really good arc. I'm putting it in B. It's definitely where One Piece takes a pretty massive tone shift that basically lasts throughout the rest of the series, which makes sense. You know, this is the time skip. Times are changing, we have entered the new world, that kind of stuff. But this is where we get a lot more world building focus. Like, before this point, they had a lot of world building. After this point, everything is world building, and I love that. Like, this is where One Piece just becomes a straight up political thriller. Like, everything is so great here. Yeah, I genuinely think this is a really good arc. I don't know why people don't like this one. I'm gonna chalk it down to anime pacing, but we're judging the manga versions of these arcs, and I think the manga version of this arc is really good. And seeing all the Straw Hats stand together as they're about to fight together for the first time in 2 years, it's great stuff. Punk Hazard. I don't really like Punk Hazard. I'm sorry. I don't really like Punk Hazard. I think lore is great. I think most of the things outside of lore is forgettable. Now, I do think Punk Hazard has the downside of, and the burden of, being a setup arc, right? It's very clearly setting up this stuff with the SAD and the Smile Fruits and the Emperors and all that other stuff. And I feel like it gets too bogged down in all that other stuff. I think it's one of the rare One Piece misses. It's still entertaining all the way through. I just don't think Caesar Clown is that entertaining of a villain. I don't really think any of the villain generals are all that memorable. I know people really like Monet. I don't really think she's all that memorable. The fights are pretty decent, but that's the thing, there aren't really that many. Like, the Zoro fight's pretty good, but like, I barely even remember Luffy versus Caesar, and I know that's like the point, because Caesar is a thinker, not a fighter, but still. Yeah, did we even get a flashback in this arc? I don't even remember. I was expecting this to be when we got Law's backstory, but it wasn't, so I was like, oh, okay. So I don't even know if we did get one. I mean, just the does the flashback of like how the kids get abducted, did that count? I don't really know. And the body swapping thing, I thought it was a fun gimmick at first, but then they got rid of it almost immediately. Like Law swaps everyone's bodies, and then we're like, oh no, our bodies are swapped, and then like literally a couple of chances later, Luffy forms the alliance with Law, and then Law swaps their bodies back, and I was like, what was the point of that then? Like, it was funny, but it felt more like a filler arc concept than it did a main series, like, canon arc, you know? I don't know, I just didn't really feel Punk Hazard. Thankfully, it's not, like, one of the longer arcs. I'm pretty sure it's only, like, 50 or so chapters, which may sound like a lot, but it's actually a shade shorter than most of the other arcs here, so... And I don't even think it's bad. I think it's entertaining. I think lore is enough to make it watchable. I just think... It doesn't really hit with me. None of the villains are that interesting. Like, remember the two, like, abominable snowman guys who, like, track down Zoro and fight him? Yeah, you don't remember them. Exactly. And there's, like, Captain Brownbeard, and he's not particularly interesting either. I don't know, I just think Punk Hazard isn't all that great. It's got good moments, for sure. I just think it's just, like, whatever. I can take it or leave it, really. Now, Dressrosa. Dressrosa is... one where, depending on who you speak to, some people love this arc, some people kind of hate this arc, and I know who is who. The people who love this arc are people who binge read the manga. The people who hate this arc are people who are watching one anime episode a week as it was airing. And as someone who binge read the manga, I'm putting it at A. I don't care what you say, Dressrosa is sick. Dressrosa is basically, it feels like a culmination of taking all the stuff that kicked ass about previous arcs and putting them into one big massive arc, and it works. You've got the Straw Hats separating, just like the archipelago. You've got a really kick-ass, like, villain who's smart and pulls the strings behind the scenes, wink wink, similar to someone like Crocodile. You've got the really crazy, like, world building like Skypeia. You've got really emotional, like, backstories and stuff like Water 7. It's just great. It's really good stuff. I love the stuff they do with Frankie. I love the stuff they do with Usopp. I love the fights. The fights are just bangers all around. I think Doflamingo is one of the most interesting and entertaining villains. I think the birdcage was really intense. I do think that the anime version is probably too long, but I'm not enough of a masochist to watch the 118 episode version or whatever the fuck it is. But, you know, the 100 manga chapters are great, so that's what I'm judging it on. Haha, I win. Yeah, I think it's a great arc. Also, I think Kairos is the MVP of that arc. His backstory is fucking... Ooh, that one hit me. I think that one might have been another cry moment. Okay, Zoe. Zoe gets a B. Because it's another setup arc, similar to Jaya and Post Enies Lobby. I think this is probably the most solid out of all the setup arcs because of the Raizo stuff. If you know, you know. I'm like near the end of this video and I still haven't decided how much I'm willing to spoil about each arc, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Yeah, that stuff's great. The stuff with the poneglyph is really fascinating. I think the world building we get with how Zoe works. There's like because it's Zoe is an elephant that walks through the ocean, and it's got an island on its back. And how do they get rain? Well, the elephant just sprays water using its tusk on the island. That's how they get rain. It's great. It's really good stuff. I love the world building in that arc. And I love the, like, behind the scenes, like, Q&A drawing Oda did, where he showed that the elephant actually has, like, abnormally long legs. Because, of course, the ocean's actually really deep, and it's a terrifying image, but I love it all the same. And I also introduced Carrot, and Carrot's a character I like a lot. I really hope she becomes Straw Hat by the end of the series. I don't think she will, but I think she deserves it. Whole Cake Island. Whole Cake Island's another A. Whole Cake Island had a lot of cry moments, I'm gonna be real. It might even be an S. I don't know, actually. I'm gonna keep it an A for now. But yeah, it had, that one had a lot of cry moments. As someone who went into this arc thinking that Sanji was their least favorite arc, this arc slapped me in the face and said, no he isn't, and they were correct. That's basically all I have to say about that arc. I heard this one actually is fairly unpopular, and I don't get it. I don't know where I heard that from, so I might be inaccurate, but I think it's a great arc. What the fuck are you talking about? I do think it's a bit anticlimactic at the end, because, I mean, the Katakuri fight's fantastic and everything, but, you know, Big Mom and her forces kind of just stay around, and we end the arc with the Straw Hats just running away from her. Which is very interesting, but of course that does get picked up in later arcs anyway, so I don't think it's too big a deal. Like, I didn't really think we were going to be taking out one of the 4 emperors that easily. Reverie, ooh. Reverie gets an A because it's a mindfuck. So much happens in Reverie, and I don't think I understand any of it. It feels like an arc that was made specifically for reaction YouTubers, because absolutely every chapter has like 5 mindfuck moments. Like, remember the giant straw hat? Remember the throne? Yeah, there's just so much going on in this arc, and again, I love me my political world-building in One Piece, and this is probably the most political arc yet. Not political as in it has minorities in it, political in terms of like it actually tackles politics. You know, the actual meaning of the word. And that stuff's incredible. It's a short arc for sure. And, you know, I did say previously, I like arcs that are the full package, but Reverie goes for one specific thing, and it does it so well, and so succinctly, and so efficiently. I like it anyway. Everything in that arc's a mindfuck. Why on earth did Shanks go to visit the 5 elders? What is going on with Sabo and Kuma? I don't know. Wano. Now, Wano's a difficult one because it's not done yet. I am fully caught up with it. Like, brand new, newest chapter. I think it's like 1018. So, 1018. It's the newest one, I think. The Jinbei fight. So it's not finished, so I don't know if I want to even rank this one, but for now it's an A. That could raise, and I don't say that lightly. I think it's a incredible arc so far. I love the stuff they do with Zoro. Again, Zoro's one of my favorite characters, so I'm always happy to see them do stuff with him. Oden's backstory is really, really great. The siege on how did I forget it? Ogashima. That was it. The siege on Ogashima is so good. I'm sorry, anime watchers, who, for the anime, they're just about to start the siege. Like, they're just about to enter. I saw the newest episode. But I've read the manga, and the siege on Onigashima is... Oh, you aren't ready, anime watchers. You are not ready. I'm so excited to see those fights in animation. You don't even believe. And Yamato for next Straw Hat, calling it now. I mean, everyone else is calling it. There's literally a line in the manga that basically confirms it's gonna happen. I'm not gonna go into any more detail for anyone who hasn't seen it. And also, yes, I don't really count this as a spoiler because it's something that Toei are about to put all over their marketing material, so fuck it. Jinbei becoming a Straw Hat, such a satisfying moment. Just after all this time, it felt so good to finally get a new Straw Hat, and for it to be Jinbei, nothing could be more perfect, you know, just so good. This arc is incredible. I love Wano so much. And that's not even me just hyping up because it's the current arc. I really do think it's that good. And I'm so excited to see how it ends up, basically. If like the final fight in this series, in this arc, is as good as everything that's led up to it, then it's incredible. And it's also around about as long as Dressrosa. Like, it's shaping up to be at least. Like, it's a long one. It's a beefy boy. There's a lot going on in it, but it never feels like it's dragging, you know? At least, again, in the manga. The anime is also a massive step up, too. That animation in recent episodes has been incredible, and I love that new animation style they've been doing for Wano. Really, really great stuff. It's an arc I don't actually mind watching week to week in the anime version, unlike Dressrosa. Before I end, let's take a very quick look, see if there's anything that's out of place, see if there's anything that needs to be raised or something needs to be lowered. Okay, so first of all, I kind of think Arlong needs to be raised. Yeah. Wano stays. When it's finished, it's probably also getting raised. Everything else in A is fine, and everything else in S is fine. In terms of my favorite arc, it's probably Water 7, but it might be Wano, honestly, when it ends. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good order. I like Water 7 the most, then the Archipelago, then Arlong, then Marineford. My favorite out of these is Wano. Then it's probably Dressrosa, then it's Enies Lobby, then it's Post-War, then it's Whole Cake Island, then it's Alabaster, then it's Reverie. For these, probably Fishman, then Skypeia, then Drum Island, then Zoe. And then, I think I'm happy with the rest of those. And then for C, I guess, Little Garden. Thriller Block, probably, maybe, I don't know. Baratie, maybe? Orange Town, Lougetown. And then, yeah, I think I'm ready. I think I'm fine with the rest of them. And then D, Syrup Village, and Punk Hazard. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that list. I know the moment I'm going to finish this recording, I'll immediately regret everything. Again, I refuse to put an unfinished arc in S. So A is as high as it goes for now, but it really is, it does live up to the hype, anyone who's wondering. I didn't think so either at first. I was like, there's no way it does. But the moment it began, I was like, whoa, things are happening, and they're happening fast. It's like the opposite of Thriller Bark. Yeah, no, other than that, though, I'm pretty happy with this. There we go. There's my ranks and opinions of One Piece arcs. Again, even Punk Hazard is good. If we were rating these on like a numerical scale, Punk Hazard would still be like at least a 6 out of 10. And then everything in C would be at least a 7 out of 10, you know, like, so, and S is a 10s. So, like, everything here is incredible. It goes without saying, right? It's my favorite anime. It's my favorite manga of all time. It really is that good. So yeah, I don't know what I'm doing with this video, but let me know what you think in the comments below. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. Tell me what your favorite arc is in the comments and what you're thinking of Wano so far. And I'll see you later with some more videos in future. See ya.